The numbers blurred slightly on my screen as the notification banner slid across the top of my phone. I almost ignored it. My calendar was blocked off for quarterly reporting, and I was halfway through reconciling revenue against the new projection model. But something about the preview made me pause, finally blocking my toxic sister. Family is better without her drama. The username confirmed it. Raina. I tapped. Her post was longer than usual. It started with that headline, then flowed into a caption that read like a therapy manifesto. Some people never grow up. They never take responsibility for their energy, their choices, or the harm they bring. Cutting out toxic family members isn't cruel, it's self-care. 43 likes, 17 comments, most of them supportive. A few from our mutual cousins, all heart emojis and praise. So proud of you for choosing peace. Boundaries are love. You deserve better. I didn't scroll further. I leaned back in my chair and looked out the window. From the 28th floor downtown, Seattle looked soft, distant, like a place someone else lived. I didn't comment. I didn't message her. I didn't even feel angry. I just reached for the landline on my desk. Hi, Jennifer. It's Celeste. I need you to rescind the offer we extended to Raina Marin yesterday. A pause, then confusion. But she already accepted the role. We're drafting the onboarding packet now. I understand. Tell her the position's been eliminated due to budget restructuring. Another pause. Celeste, is there something I should know? There's a conflict of interest I wasn't aware of until this morning. Understood. I hung up, reached for my tea now cold, and took a sip anyway. 3 years ago, I'd started Meridian Tech in a one-bedroom apartment with $47,000 scraped together from freelance projects and a stubborn refusal to quit. Now we had 37 full-time employees and revenue just past $8 million. Raina had no idea I was the CEO. As far as she knew, I was still the sister who built pretty websites and didn't have a real job. She'd been offered a position here just yesterday, Director of Marketing. $95,000 salary, full benefits, equity after year 1. She was excited. She'd posted about it. Now she was going to learn what it meant to block someone without knowing which door you were locking. When I first started building Meridian, my desk was a salvaged kitchen table with a cracked leg and a wobble I never bothered to fix. I took client calls from the hallway because the walls in my apartment were too thin. The idea was simple web development UX SEO bundles, nothing fancy, but I treated every client like they were Google. I remember working past midnight with ramen on the stove and a second monitor flashing lines of code. I taught myself payroll onboarding contracts, no investors, just grit and deadlines and a coffee pot that never rested. I used Mom's maiden name Marin for professional separation. At first, it was a technical decision. Later, it became something else. My family never really asked what I did, not beyond polite curiosity. Still doing that website stuff, Dad would say over Thanksgiving dinner. I'd nod, swallowing mashed potatoes instead of the truth. They never asked how much I made, never asked about the clients, the staff, the new office lease. I don't think it was malice, just assumption. To them, I was the quiet one who dropped out of college and never quite figured it out. Raina was the one they bragged about. She worked at a mid-sized firm, made $65,000 a year. Health benefits. Matching 401k. She wore heels and posted charts on LinkedIn. She once told me, at some point you need to think about your future. Freelance isn't a long-term path. I smiled, didn't bother correcting her. The irony, she was good at what she did. She knew how to pitch, how to position. She just didn't know how to look sideways to see beyond the resume in front of her. 6 months ago, our HR team started looking for a director of marketing. I forwarded her portfolio under a different name. Let her work speak for itself. She made it through the process, beat out 47 other candidates. I never told anyone, not even Jennifer. She earned it. But she never asked who had quietly opened the first door. She still thought I was on the outside of success, pressing my face to the glass. She had no idea I was the one who built the building, and yesterday she walked through that glass door with pride, thinking it was hers. Today, she'll find out it never even opened. By noon, the next day, Raina's Instagram story had turned grayscale. A quote against a cloudy background. Sometimes, just when you think everything is falling into place, it collapses. Then another. The universe is testing me. No mention of the company, no direct blame. Just a string of curated grief designed for maximum sympathy and plausible deniability. The same people who had applauded her for cutting out toxic family were now replying with crying emojis and virtual hugs. One aunt commented, "Everything happens for a reason, sweetheart." My cousin Lila wrote, "Maybe it's that negative energy finally getting out of your way." I didn't respond. I didn't refresh. By 3, my phone buzzed. It was Mom. "Celeste, I just saw Raina's posts. She's really upset." I saw them too. She said her job offer was rescinded. "Do you know anything about that?" I let the question hang. Not because I didn't have an answer, but because I already knew the conversation wasn't about information. It was about positioning, about whose side I was expected to stand on. "She thinks maybe..." "I don't know, maybe your energy somehow interfered." "My energy." "She's just hurt. You know how she gets when things don't go her way." She called me toxic in front of the entire extended family. She told the world we're better off apart. And now that something falls apart for her, I'm the ghost in the machine, Celeste. You know she doesn't mean half of what she says online. But she meant it enough to post it, to leave it there. There was a pause. Maybe you could reach out, be the bigger person. I was the bigger person. I kept my mouth shut. I didn't humiliate her in return. But I won't clean up a mess I didn't make. Families fight. That doesn't mean they stop being family. Then maybe she should have remembered that before deciding I wasn't part of hers. Mom sighed. She's just going through a lot. I ended the call before I said something I'd regret. But inside, I wondered why grief always made people rewrite the past, and why my silence was so easy to villainize when hers was drenched in applause. At 5:17 p.m., her name lit up my phone like it hadn't insulted me that same morning. "Hey, I know we're not really talking, but I just really need someone to vent to. The job I was supposed to start Monday got canceled. Can you call me?" For 10 seconds, I stared at the screen wondering what kind of memory Raina had. Selective, clearly. Selective enough to forget that only hours ago, I was the sister she declared disposable in front of every person we shared DNA with. I didn't call. I sent a screenshot, her post, her words, her performance. "You said the family is better without me." She responded faster than I expected. "That was just Instagram drama. I didn't mean it personally." Another screenshot, this time of her caption, finally blocking my toxic sister. "You named me Raina." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then I was venting. "I didn't think you'd even see it." "But everyone else did, and they applauded you for it." She hesitated again. "I was upset. I wasn't trying to hurt you." "Then what were you trying to do?" "Teach me a lesson. Score sympathy." "Celeste, please. I just need someone to talk to." "No. You need someone to pretend none of this happened. You're being too sensitive." "That did it. You made my identity a prop for your emotional monologue. Now you want comfort because something didn't go your way. You want my support in private after condemning me in public." No reply. Minutes passed. "I'm really struggling right now. Can we please not do this?" I sat with her message like it was a riddle. I reread it 3 times. "You turned my existence into content. You made it a statement. Now that you're hurting, you expect empathy. What exactly do you think I owe you?" Still nothing. It was the first time in a long time I felt the silence working in my favor. Not because it meant I won, but because it finally didn't mean I was retreating. She had curated an image of herself as a woman standing up for her peace. She just didn't expect the fallout when the person she cut off didn't come crawling back. The next evening, I answered her call. Raina's voice cracked like glass under pressure. "Celeste, I'm sorry. I was having a terrible week and I took it out on you." I let her speak. She filled the space with soft admissions, the kind meant to sound brave but felt rehearsed. "I know I was wrong to say those things. I didn't realize how much it would hurt you." "You didn't think it would matter," I said quietly. "Because you assumed I had nothing to lose." She fell silent. "What were you even upset about when you posted that?" I asked. She sighed. "Work stuff mostly. And just The feeling that mom and dad worry more about you than they celebrate anything I do. I almost laughed. You think they're worried about me? They talk about you like you're fragile, she said. Like one wrong step and you'll fall apart. I took a breath. And that bothers you because you think I don't deserve their concern. No, she said quickly. It bothers me because they don't notice when I'm quietly holding everything together. I let that sit. It wasn't the worst thing she'd said. So I asked the job that got rescinded what company was it? With, she answered without hesitation. Meridian Tech Solutions. They're supposed to be this incredible company. Small but growing fast. The CEO is apparently this brilliant woman who built everything from scratch. I nodded even though she couldn't see me. Sounds impressive. It was. The salary alone would have changed my life. I waited a beat. Raina. That company. That's mine. Silence. What, I'm the CEO. I founded Meridian Tech 3 years ago. She didn't respond. The line went dead for nearly half a minute. But, you're just a freelance web designer. I was. Then I became something else. Wait. So, when I interviewed you were applying to work for the sister you publicly called toxic. Her breath caught. I didn't know. That's exactly the problem. I wouldn't have. She stopped. Wouldn't have what said it if you knew or meant it. I just didn't think. No, you didn't. You assumed I was beneath you. You assumed I was harmless. She started crying. I'm so sorry, I swear I didn't mean any of it. Would you still be saying that I asked if I was just a struggling freelancer living in a small apartment? She didn't answer, and that told me everything. 2 weeks passed before I heard from her again. In that time, I didn't reach out. I didn't block her either. I just watched from a quiet distance as something in her shifted. It started with a post I almost missed. No hashtags, no aesthetic quote background. Just plain text against white. I said some things out of stress and pride. I hurt someone I love, and I want to take responsibility for that. I was wrong, deeply wrong, and I'm sorry. No names. But it was enough. Later that week, I found out she had started volunteering with a nonprofit that helped job seekers rebuild after layoffs. Resume coaching, mock interviews, networking prep. I read about it through a tagged photo. Raina sitting beside a man in his 50s helping him revise a cover letter. No filters. Just a quiet moment of care. She didn't text me again right away. But she posted another update the following weekend. Humility isn't weakness. It's the beginning of empathy. I'm learning to listen. I didn't respond, but I didn't scroll past either. A few days later, I ran into Jennifer by the elevators. Your sister's doing good work, she said casually. She's not working here, I replied cautious. I know, Jennifer said, but I saw her name on a community bulletin about employment outreach. Thought you might want to know. I nodded, said nothing. I wasn't ready to rewrite the story just yet. Apologies don't erase erasure. But I couldn't ignore what I saw either. I'd spent years pretending my silence was strength. Raina had spent just as long pretending success meant climbing higher than everyone else. Now she was starting to ask better questions, the kind that don't come with a ladder at all. And for the first time in our lives, I wondered if maybe, just maybe, she was beginning to understand what real growth looks like. We met at the cafe across from the library where Mom used to take us on Saturdays. It wasn't intentional, but I felt the irony when I sat down. Some places hold echoes whether you invite them or not. Raina was late by 5 minutes. No makeup, no filter, no performance. Just a wool coat and a notebook she didn't open. Thanks for coming, she said quietly. I didn't say anything. I just looked at her and waited. She fiddled with the edge of her sleeve. I know you probably don't want to hear another apology. I don't, I said. But say what you came to say. She nodded like she expected that. I thought I was doing everything right. College, career, health insurance, rent on time. I thought if I just kept checking boxes, someone would notice. They noticed, I said. They just didn't praise you the way you wanted. She looked up. And then you dropped out and started freelancing, and somehow they still worried more about you. I waited. I was jealous, she said finally. Not of your life, but of how they hovered over you like you were fragile, like your failure mattered more than my effort, That landed. And I guess I started believing I had to discredit you in order to feel seen. So you erased me, I said, in front of the people who already questioned my worth. Her face flushed. It wasn't about erasing you. It was about proving something. To them. To myself. By publicly calling me toxic, I thought I was drawing a boundary. No, Raina, you were drawing a spotlight, and you pointed it away from yourself. She winced. I didn't realize how cruel it sounded until I saw your screenshots. You didn't think it would cost you anything. I didn't think you mattered enough to hurt. She didn't mean it as harshly as it sounded, but the truth often echoes louder than intention. I'm sorry, she said, voice shaking. Not because you're successful now, but because I judged you when I thought you weren't. And that's worse. I didn't speak right away. I let the silence do some of the work. Then I said, you wanted them to see you. So, you shrank me. I know. That doesn't justify what you did. It doesn't. She agreed. I just want to try and do better. You don't get to skip the part where I don't trust you. I'm not asking to skip it. I'm asking to earn something real. Slowly. I studied her. There was no angle this time, just discomfort and truth. We've never had a real relationship, I said. I know. Maybe it's time to stop pretending we lost something and start being honest about what we never had. She nodded. Starting from scratch, then starting from here. We didn't hug. We didn't promise anything, but we didn't pretend either. And that was new. We told them we needed to talk just to the four of us. No birthdays, no holidays, no distractions. Just a quiet Sunday afternoon and a dining table we hadn't all sat around in years. Dad poured coffee. Mom set out plates even though no one was hungry. I pulled out my laptop and opened the Meridian Tech homepage. This is my company, I said. Dad leaned forward, squinting. You built this, I founded it 3 years ago. We just crossed 8 million in annual revenue. He blinked. Wait, you're telling us you own this? Yes. Mom's hand covered her mouth. Why didn't you tell us? I looked at her. You never asked. She looked like she'd been slapped, but I didn't say it cruelly. Just plainly. Just truthfully. Raina shifted beside me. She's right, she said quietly. None of us asked. We just assumed. Dad looked at her, then back at me. But all those years we thought you were barely getting by. I know. You let us think that. I didn't correct you, I said. And after a while I wanted to see what you'd say when you thought I had nothing to offer. Nobody spoke. Mom finally whispered. But we were just trying to help. Were you? I asked. Or were you just trying to fix me into something that made more sense to you? The silence after that was deeper than the one before. Then Raina spoke again. She's not being harsh. She's being honest. And she's earned that. Dad leaned back. I don't even know what to say. Maybe just say you see me now, I offered. Mom reached for my hand. We do. We really do. But the part of me that still remembered being politely dismissed every Thanksgiving, every birthday, every phone call, they weren't ready to believe it yet. Applause sounds different when it only comes after the trophy is visible.